There was a time in this country when families had nothing. No money. No grocery stores stocked with shelves of processed food. Nothing but a small kitchen, a little land, and the hard-won wisdom of how to make almost nothing into enough. That time was the 1930s. And the foods that kept America alive during those years were not weak substitutes for better food. They were some of the most nourishing, healing, and protective foods this country has ever eaten. And here's what nobody talks about. The generation that lived through the Great Depression on these foods went on to become one of the most resilient generations in American history. The men who stormed Normandy. The grandparents who lived into their 80s and 90s on a level of health most modern Americans cannot imagine despite all our medicine. It was not luck. It was the food. Today, I am going to show you 20 Depression-era foods that kept America alive. The same foods modern science is now proving can still heal us today. Stay with me, because number 8 on this list was so cheap during the Depression that families ate it 3 times a week, and it contains more brain-protecting compounds than any supplement on the market today. Number 14 was what poor families ate when they could not afford yeast bread, and modern research now shows it heals the gut better than any probiotic ever sold. And number 20? Number 20 is the simplest food on this list. It cost almost nothing in 1932. And 3 different studies have now linked it to longer human lifespan. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because on this channel we uncover the quiet wisdom that used to live in every American kitchen, before we forgot. Let us begin. Number 1. Cornbread. The bread that built a generation. Walk into any farmhouse kitchen in 1933 and you would find the same thing on the table, a hot iron skillet of cornbread. Cornmeal, buttermilk, salt, a little bacon grease. That was it. And it fed entire families when wheat flour was a luxury. Real stone-ground cornmeal contains fiber, magnesium, B vitamins, and a compound called ferulic acid that has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. The simple combination of cornmeal, fat, and fermented dairy created a complete, nourishing food that modern processed cereals cannot touch. The traditional recipe: 1 cup of stone-ground cornmeal, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1 egg, salt, and a tablespoon of bacon grease, baked in a hot iron skillet at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. That is the bread that kept America alive, and it disappeared not because it stopped being good, but because food companies could not sell something a family could make for 10 cents. Number 2. Beans. The protein of the poor. If you had to name one food that saved more American lives during the Great Depression than any other, the answer would not be steak. It would be beans. Pinto, Navy, Kidney, Black, Great Northern. They cost almost nothing. They stored for years. They cooked low and slow on a wood stove. And they delivered the protein, fiber, and minerals that kept families standing when meat was a memory. Modern research has confirmed what poor families already knew. Clinical studies have shown regular bean consumption is associated with lower rates of heart disease, lower blood pressure, better blood sugar control, and significantly lower rates of certain cancers. Bean-eating populations live longer than meat-eating populations. The traditional preparation: soak overnight, cook all day with onion, salt, and a smoked ham bone if you had one. Serve over cornbread. A meal that fed a family of 4 for 2 days for almost no money, and the average American today eats 1/10 the beans their great-grandparents ate, and we are sicker for it. Number 3. Lard. The fat they got wrong. For 70 years, Americans were told that lard would kill them. That animal fat caused heart disease. That margarine and vegetable oil were the healthy choice. We now know that was one of the largest nutritional mistakes ever made. Lard contains oleic acid, the same heart-healthy fat found in olive oil. It does not oxidize at high heat the way industrial seed oils do, which means it does not generate the inflammatory compounds modern science has linked to heart disease and chronic inflammation. During the Depression, every farm family kept a crock of lard. They cooked with it. They baked with it. The pie crusts our great-grandmothers made were the flakiest pie crusts ever produced. And the bodies of the people eating it had less heart disease per capita than Americans living today on cheap vegetable oils. Replace your seed oils with rendered lard from pasture-raised pigs, available now at most farmers' markets. The same fat that built America in the 1930s, quietly waiting for us to remember we were lied to about it. Number 4. Bone broth. The healing pot. Long before bone broth became a $30 trend at health food stores, it was a daily reality in every poor American kitchen. The bones from Sunday's chicken did not go in the trash. They went into a pot of cold water with vegetable scraps, a bay leaf, a splash of vinegar. The pot simmered all day on the back of the wood stove. Modern research has confirmed what every Depression-era grandmother knew. Long-simmered bone broth contains gelatin, collagen, glycine, and a wide spectrum of minerals extracted during slow cooking. Studies have shown collagen supplementation improves skin elasticity, joint pain, and recovery from injury. A bone broth that costs $3 to make at home replaces a $30 collagen supplement. The traditional recipe: bones from one chicken, covered with cold water, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, vegetable scraps, simmered for at least 8 hours. Strained, salted, consumed daily. That is medicine. Number 5. Sauerkraut. The living food. In farmhouses across the rural Midwest and the immigrant kitchens of the cities, there was almost always a crock of sauerkraut working in the corner. Cabbage was cheap. Salt was cheap. And what those two ingredients produced together was one of the most powerful healing foods on earth. Real fermented sauerkraut, not the cooked, pasteurized kind in glass jars on grocery shelves, is alive with beneficial bacteria. Modern research has shown that fermented foods contain dozens of strains of probiotic bacteria that support gut health, immune function, and mental health in ways no pharmaceutical probiotic can fully replicate. The recipe is shockingly simple. 1 head of cabbage finely shredded, 1 tablespoon of sea salt per pound of cabbage. Pound to release the juices, pack into a glass jar, weight it down, ferment at room temperature for 2 weeks. A living food that stores for months. And that is 5 down, 15 to go. But keep watching, because the next foods include some of the most underrated healing meals ever made. Number 6. Soaked oats. The breakfast that built strength. Before sugar-coated cereals took over the American morning, working families ate one breakfast more than any other: soaked oats. Steel-cut or rolled oats were soaked overnight, sometimes with a splash of buttermilk or apple cider vinegar, and cooked into a thick warming porridge. A spoonful of butter. A drizzle of molasses. That was breakfast. And it kept men working in fields and factories for 10 hours without flagging. Soaking begins the breakdown of phytic acid, a compound that interferes with mineral absorption. The result is a porridge that delivers more usable iron, zinc, and magnesium than oats simply boiled fresh. And oats themselves contain beta-glucan, a soluble fiber clinically shown to lower cholesterol and stabilize blood sugar. Half a cup of steel-cut oats, 2 cups of water, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Soak overnight. Cook in the morning. The breakfast that built America's working class. Number 7. Eggs. The complete food. Even in cities, even with nothing, almost every Depression-era family had eggs. And those eggs were one of the most nutritionally complete foods ever consumed by humans. A single egg from a pasture-raised hen contains every essential amino acid, significant choline, vitamins A, D, E, and K2, B vitamins, selenium, and lutein. The yolk, the part Americans were told for 40 years to throw away, is where almost all of this nutrition lives. Modern research has reversed the fear of eggs. Studies have shown moderate egg consumption does not raise cholesterol in most people, and the choline in egg yolks is essential for brain health, liver function, and fetal development. Eggs never disappeared, but we forgot how to source them. The eggs from a pasture-raised hen contain dramatically more vitamin D, omega-3 fats, and antioxidants than industrial cage-laid eggs. Worth every extra penny. Number 8. Liver. The brain food. And here is the food I teased at the very beginning. The food families ate 3 times a week during the Depression because it was the cheapest meat available. The food that contains more brain-protecting compounds than any supplement on the market today. Liver. A 4-ounce serving of beef liver contains more vitamin A than 50 servings of carrots. More B12 than a week's worth of supplements. More iron than 15 ounces of steak. Significant choline, copper, zinc, and CoQ10. Gram for gram, one of the most nutritionally dense foods on the planet. Modern research has shown that the choline, B12, and DHA in liver are essential for brain health throughout life. Inadequate intake is linked to cognitive decline and depression. The very compounds your aging brain needs are sitting in a food your great-grandmother ate 3 times a week and you have probably not eaten in 10 years. The traditional preparation: soak the liver in milk for an hour, dredge in seasoned flour, fry quickly in butter or lard with sliced onions. 3 minutes per side. Served with mashed potatoes. A meal that cost 20 cents in 1933 and delivered more nutrition than any modern restaurant entree. Number 9. Cabbage. The penny vegetable. When other vegetables had become luxuries, cabbage remained cheap, abundant, hearty, and nourishing. A nickel could buy a head that would feed a family for 2 days. Cabbage contains glucosinolates, sulfur compounds studied for their cancer-protective effects. It is rich in vitamin C, vitamin K, and fiber. It supports gut health, especially when fermented. And it costs less than almost any other vegetable per pound. The traditional weeknight recipe: half a head sliced thin, 1 onion sliced, 2 tablespoons of bacon grease in a heavy pan. Cook until soft and slightly caramelized. Salt and pepper. 20 minutes from start to finish. Number 10. Beets. The blood food. In Depression-era kitchens with Eastern European, Polish, German, or Russian roots, beets were a constant. Cheap. Easy to grow. Storing for months in a root cellar. Beets contain nitrates the body converts to nitric oxide, a compound that improves blood flow, lowers blood pressure, and supports cardiovascular health. Studies have shown beet juice can lower blood pressure within hours of consumption. They also contain betaine, which supports liver function and the body's process for clearing toxins. The traditional preparation: roast whole beets at 400 degrees for 1 hour. Slip off the skins under cold water. Slice and toss with vinegar, oil, salt, and pepper. The simplest preparation reveals the most flavor. If you have made it this far, you are starting to see something important. Every food on this list is simple. It is cheap. It is real. And it was the foundation of the strongest generation in American history. If this is resonating with you, hit the like button on this video. It helps share this message with people who are ready to remember what real food actually is. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is the time. We are building a community of people waking up to a simple truth: the food we need has never been at the supermarket. Now let us continue. Number 11. Apples. The orchard medicine. Almost every farmhouse during the Depression had an apple tree, or had access to one. And the saying "an apple a day keeps the doctor away" was not just a rhyme. It was kitchen wisdom that worked. Apples contain pectin, a soluble fiber that supports gut health, lowers cholesterol, and helps regulate blood sugar. They contain quercetin, a flavonoid with anti-inflammatory and antihistamine effects. They store for months in a cool root cellar. Studies have shown regular apple consumption is associated with lower rates of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain cancers. Apple butter: apples cooked slowly with cinnamon, cloves, and a little molasses for hours until thick and dark, jarred and sealed, fed Depression-era families through every winter. Number 12. Potatoes. The complete starch. The potato saved more lives during the Great Depression than any other single food. It was cheap. It grew almost anywhere. It stored for months. And it provided the calories that kept families fed when nothing else was available. For decades, modern nutrition told Americans potatoes were unhealthy. This was wrong. A simple potato contains more potassium than bananas, plus vitamin C, vitamin B6, magnesium, and a unique resistant starch when cooled and reheated that supports gut health. The key was preparation. Depression-era potatoes were not French fried in industrial seed oil. They were boiled with skins on, mashed with butter and milk, baked in a wood stove, fried in lard with onions. A meal that cost 20 cents and fed a family for 2 days. Number 13. Corn. The grain of the people. Beyond cornbread, corn was woven through every part of Depression-era American eating. Sweet corn fresh in summer. Dried corn ground into meal. Hominy made from soaked corn kernels. Whole corn contains fiber, B vitamins, magnesium, and a unique antioxidant called zeaxanthin that supports eye health. The traditional preparation of corn into hominy, a process Native Americans called nixtamalization, actually increases the bioavailability of niacin, transforming corn into a more complete food. The traditional grits breakfast: half a cup of stone-ground cornmeal cooked slowly in 2 cups of milk with butter and salt. Served with eggs and country ham. 20 cents. A breakfast that powered farm work until noon. Number 14. Sourdough bread. The fermented bread. And here it is, the second food I teased at the start. Sourdough bread. The bread poor families made when they could not afford yeast. The bread that modern research now shows heals the gut better than any probiotic ever sold. Real sourdough, fermented for at least 12 hours with wild bacteria and yeast, is fundamentally different from commercial bread. The long fermentation breaks down gluten, neutralizes phytic acid, and produces lactic acid bacteria that survive baking and continue benefiting the gut after consumption. Modern studies have shown sourdough bread has a significantly lower glycemic impact than commercial yeast bread. People with mild gluten sensitivity often tolerate sourdough when they cannot tolerate other wheat. Some American sourdough starters today can be traced back to specific Depression-era kitchens, passed between neighbors and across generations. Wiccans. Don't feed a starter for a few days. Mix 1 cup with 3 cups of flour, water, and salt. Ferment 12 to 24 hours. Bake, the healthiest grain food you can eat. Number 15. Buttermilk, the cultured drink. Bounds before refrigeration was common, dairy went bad fast. The solution every Depression-era farmhouse used was simple. Culture it. Real buttermilk is the cultured, slightly tangy liquid left over from churning butter, full of beneficial bacteria. Naturally low in lactose, gentle on digestion. The probiotic content supports gut health, the same way modern probiotic supplements claim to. The lactic acid, produced by fermentation, aids digestion and helps the body absorb minerals from other foods eaten with it. Real, cultured buttermilk is still available at farmers markets and traditional dairies. The same drink that quenched thirst and supported health in Depression-era kitchens, Mahler and Forfel,